Fireworks for education for the future. What could this be? Now, you would expect me to say this, of course, but the school culture must be values-based. Values based on universal positive human values, such as respect, compassion, altruism, freedom, etc., etc. And those words being really thought about deeply in the context of a school, so that all behaviors, all policies, everything that happens is based on that. I think many people think of my work as values education. Values education is a part of values-based education, but it isn't it. Values education is sharing with children about values and helping them to develop values in their life. Having a school culture based on values is something much wider, much deeper, and it's challenging. It is not simple. So that's the culture. So we've moved away from the standards. And we have two circles now. Do you remember the previous one had one circle and a tiny one? We now have two big ones. Again, I'm not sure of the words that I put on here, but the curriculum universal, a universal curriculum that helps children to understand our world. A curriculum, second one, is ethical. How do we help children to understand themselves and understand others so that they can truly be agents of their own learning, which I don't think they are at the moment. So in the universal curriculum, you have the skills, knowledge and concepts of that curriculum, but they're now taught holistically and experientially. You know, people like Sukhum Lenski back in 1940, 44, 47, he was talking about early childhood should be based on giving children experiences. You give children experiences of a sunrise, walking in a field, looking at creatures, getting them to interact with that experience, not being, as science has taught us, another myth, that we're the objective onlookers of the world, but you become a part of the world. We need to help children see themselves as a part of nature, not separate from it. So whatever subjects you're working with, either in the primary or secondary curriculum, you are teaching holistically, you're showing the connections. Those of you who worked in secondary education in the 80s will remember MACOS, Man, A Course of Study, which tried to join up all the humanities so that children would see the things holistically. But that was all done away with because the individual subjects were given dominance in 1989 in the national curriculum. So the ethical curriculum, what's all that about? Well, it's, again, all the skills, knowledge and concepts that you teach holistically and experientially. So a human being really understands who they are, where they sit in the world, where they've come from, where they're going to, and really understand themselves. And children are not helped to understand themselves, in my view. Now, where those two circles overlap in those two curriculums, you have a lovely section, which I call wisdom. That is the missing ingredient in the world at the moment. We've seen leaders, haven't we? I won't mention any, former leaders of the United States. Where was the wisdom in running a country of 300 or 400 million people? Where did wisdom feature? So children of the future, the whole end game of education should be the development of wisdom, the ability to make wise choices based on your value system. Values are the bedrock of culture. You have to challenge the values of society. What do we really want? And it hasn't got to be laminated values. You have to live those values. There are companies that I'm working with at the moment that have values written on walls, but when you talk to middle management, they don't exist. So that's why I say the values route isn't the easy one. It is the one I believe we do have to work with. The outcomes. I believe we have to help children deal with complexity. How do we really deal with the complexity of modern life? How do we live in harmony with ourselves, others, and the planet? Now, the outcome, I believe, of what I'm talking about today is that.